Hello there, Mad Mike here, and welcome back to the channel. And today we are going to do a breakdown for the first official trailer for Zack Snyder's Justice League Snyder Cut, which will be hitting HBO Max later next year. Now, this is a bit of a different scenario because this movie has already, the Justice League already came out. But obviously, this is Snyder's version, so the entirety of the trailer pretty much is made up of shots we haven't seen, and the shots that we have seen are very fleeting moments, or sometimes they've been altered to what I assume would have been their original state before the reshoots. Now, we also got confirmation during this that, technically official confirmation. I mean, you can split hairs with it, but that it will be. Or I should say reconfirmation, because I think this information actually already came out, but they did say that this is going to be a 4-part series on HBO Max, so it's going to be 4 one-hour parts, which originally we thought that his cut might be 3 hours, similar to Batman v Superman, but it looks like it is actually going to be 4 hours, which, if you want to do the math on the amount of reshoots that were done and what was actually cut out of the film, that means we're getting about 3 hours of footage that we did not get before. Or footage that was different from what we got. So that's going to be interesting going forward, because basically Netflix kind of did the same thing with The Hateful Eight, where Tarantino's version, I think, was split up into 4 one-hour parts. Meant to be a very longer film, almost like a mini-series, actually, because originally Justice League was supposed to be 2 films, and then Warner Brothers told them they had to cut it down to 1. So I'm assuming that Zack Snyder was just able to expand it even more to encompass what was originally supposed to take place over those 2 films. So maybe we'll get a Darkseid showdown at the end of this. That would be kind of interesting. But let's just dive right into the trailer, because there's a bunch of stuff that we see in this that we did not see in the original Justice League cut. There are some aesthetic changes in this as well. And first image you see is of Darkseid. We finally get to actually see Darkseid, get to see him moving around. I like the design. I'd be very curious to hear the actual voice, the actual speaking voice. I know the voice actor recently spoke out on, I think, Twitter, and I think he did kind of like a little impressionary voice there. But I'm curious what it's going to sound like in the film, because they'll obviously have to, put it through filters and stuff, or probably anyway. But I'm curious how that's going to sound. I think they need to give him that kind of booming voice that we remember from Michael Ironside. From the original Justice League cartoon. I think that voice was perfect for Darkseid. So if you can get something that kind of mirrors that, I think you would be doing a very good step in the right direction. Now, after we go past Darkseid, then we start seeing all the different Justice League members for split seconds. Batman probably shows up the least in the trailer, which, again, I think is kind of understandable, because Batman's character is probably going to be one of the ones that is the most changed from the Whedon version, where he was basically kind of used as a comic relief character, when in reality he probably should have been used how Batman should be used, which is kind of how as the team's brain, or as the team's tactical brain. That's always kind of what he's been best at when it comes to the Justice League, is being able to plan things out in order to take out supervillains the quickest and fastest way possible. And this is basically his own thing at this point, because we still have that narrative where he's forming the Justice League. And we see some alternate shots with Jason Momoa, where he's walking out on this pier with a thing of whiskey. Again, probably a continuation or a different version of that shot we got in the original. We see a few little shots here and there of Wonder Woman, some stuff of Themyscira. One of the big reveals actually is the original Steppenwolf design, which we saw in Batman v Superman, which was a lot scarier looking than the thing that we got in Justice League. Justice League he looked like a Mortal Kombat villain reject. He didn't look like Steppenwolf. In this, he looks like a legitimate demon, and it's really cool, actually. I love that design. The way that the armor is kind of reactive. It looks almost kind of like an Iron Man type-esque armor, something like that, but it's very reactive. We also see a couple of moments in there. We see Cyborg's father, who appears to be vaporized by a mother box at one point. We see Victor Stone playing football, which was a part that was completely cut out of the theatrical version of Justice League. I think his character probably got the shaft the most out of that, because they cut out a lot of his developmental scenes. We really only see a lot of it through kind of videos and a little bit of the back and forth where he basically tells them what happened. So it's a bit different, but I think if we can see more of that, if we can see more of his backstory, which again we got 3 extra hours of footage here, and I think we will. I think that's just going to make his character all the more better. Now, the other thing that I did notice is because there were a series of rumors that came out about this. There's a scene where Wonder Woman is actually she's talking to this group of school kids. Now, in the original film, if I remember correctly, those are the kids she saves from the bomb at the beginning. Uh, but in the Snyder Cut, supposedly she actually fails to save them, and the room explodes and they turn into dust. Now, that could be the shot immediately before that happens, and they don't want to give that away. Or maybe Snyder chose to alter it a little bit because that's something that fans actually did like a bit from the theatrical version. Was that was kind of a cool scene where she saves all those kids. Whereas if it blows up, it's like, oh, that's just kind of bleak. So that scene may have been changed. And in addition, there was also supposed to be a scene at the end of the movie where we do see a scene at the end of the movie where Cyborg and Flash and Wonder Woman, Aquaman, Superman, Batman, they're all standing there. It's kind of like the end shot of the movie, and then the plane comes in. Their version of a Quinjet basically comes in to pick them up. Now, in the Snyder cut of that, supposedly originally Cyborg was actually like ripped apart by Steppenwolf. He didn't just get his leg ripped off like in the theatrical version. He actually got like torn up, like he got his limbs ripped off, and he was he was all fucked up. But Batman manages to save him again, supposedly because of the leaks that we heard about this. So maybe that was also changed because maybe they thought that was too brutal. Because again, it doesn't seem kind of plausible that he's puts himself completely back together in 2 minutes after he gets ripped apart. But I'd be curious to see if maybe those were some changes that Snyder decided to make because maybe he thought that maybe those weren't changes that Warner Brothers wanted to do. Maybe those were changes he wanted to do. Or maybe those leaks were just wrong. Maybe those plot points were from an older version of the script or something like that. And they weren't from the theatrical cut that Snyder originally composed for Warner Brothers. So you have some of that stuff. There's also another really big reveal in this is you do get a shot of Superman in the black suit with the silver Superman symbol in the center, and it looks like they've elected to go with a cape design for that. Now I'm not sure if that's when Superman shows up to help the Justice League. I'm not sure if that's immediately after he comes back to life because we do see another scene later on which is similar to the scene in the theatrical cut where Superman goes back to Kansas and Smallville and shows up at his family farm and is just kind of it's generally coming back to him his memory since he's been dead. And then Amy Adams and Diane Lane come out and they give him a hug and stuff. But they did use the original scene, so it's not the weird Superman with the CGI mustache face. So that is kind of interesting because he's in street clothes at that point. So when does he go from the black suit to the street clothes, or vice versa? So that's another one that's kind of interesting. And I'm just saying this as somebody who has seen and remembers most of the theatrical cut of the film. I don't own the theatrical cut of the film because I wasn't going to own that piece of crap. I would buy this, however, after watching it on HBO Max, because I think that this is probably the one that they're going to move forward with. Because here's the other thing that you got to kind of remember about this is if this thing turns out to be a huge hit on HBO Max and everybody says that this should have been the one in theaters and everything like that, they probably will go with it at this point. So if we do get a Justice League 2 proper, it would probably be a continuation of this as opposed to the Whedon cut. And really, even if you can compare the two, you're kind of at the same ends. You wind up roughly at the same result at the end of both of those films, I would imagine, where Steppenwolf is defeated and the Earth is saved for now, but Darkseid still lurks in the shadows and stuff. So I would assume they both wind up at the same place. So if they're going off of that, it's probably the same. But I know Aquaman, James Wan said they originally went off of Snyder's story, not the Franken movie that we got from him and Whedon. So they've already kind of continued on with that already. Now, the other thing with the trailer, though, is that it gives you some major things to tease you, which I think it needed to do. It gave you Darkseid, it gave you Steppenwolf, the new design, it gave you Superman in the black suit, it gave you all this stuff. There's a bunch of action scenes and stuff in it as well that are sprinkled within there that are different or completely new. And so now we go to the end of the trailer and we have this very short monologue by Bruce Wayne, basically saying that the Flash basically asks, like, he's killed thousands of super beings on other worlds that he's conquered. What makes us any different? Or basically, what are we going to do? And Batman just says that we're all going to do it together. He hasn't faced us all united. So that's kind of it seems like that's kind of like before the final battle type of thing. Again, I don't remember exactly if that speech was in the theatrical cut. I don't believe it was. But Ben Affleck does do a good job delivering it. We don't see a whole lot, like I said, we don't see a whole lot of him. We have a few scenes with Gal Gadot. There's actually another scene with Flash, too, that looks kind of interesting, where I don't know if he's inside the Speed Force or something like that, but it looks like he sees like a nuke go off at one point. We also do get a nightmare sequence part, too, where they show the Justice League Hall, or the Hall of Justice, where the Justice League had their original headquarters, at least in the comic books, is in ruins, and you see Wonder Woman's sword and shield and Aquaman's trident just kind of in the rubble. So we are going to get more of the nightmare sequence stuff, which again was teased by Snyder ahead of time anyway. So we got a glimpse at what we wanted to see, which is a good thing. Whenever a trailer shows you something that you want to see but doesn't give away too much, that's exactly what the purpose is. And since this trailer, it didn't have to do anything with the story, it didn't have to cover anything new, it just had to kind of show you some little tidbits of stuff that you're going to be able to see now. And it did it very well, because you really don't know a lot of the context of what's going on. You don't know the context in the apocalypse scene. You don't know the context when Victor Stone's father gets vaporized. I mean, you know how it happens, but you don't necessarily know why what set up those series of events, and vice versa on a lot of the other stuff. So overall, I really liked the trailer. I think it gave me exactly what I wanted to see out of the Snyder Cut trailer. It showed me some things that got me really excited about it. And I'm interested to actually sit down and watch this whole thing and compare it, in my mind anyway, to the original, because I don't plan on watching the original movie again, or the theatrical cut of the movie, I should say. But like I said, I want to be able to watch this and compare and contrast and see, what the differences are, and what Snyder's actual cohesive vision actually looks like. Because this thing sounds like a 4-hour epic, and if it's got a lot of action in it, if it's got a lot of good story in it, if it's got a lot of character development in it, I'm probably going to love it. But I want to know what you think. As usual, I'm going to link the trailer in the description below for anybody that wants to watch it. But I want to know what you think. Are you excited about the Snyder Cut? Do you want to? Are you going to pick up HBO Max to go watch it eventually when it comes out in 2021? Have you seen the trailer? Do you like the trailer? Do you like some of the surprises they showed you in the trailer? Put your thoughts in the comments below. As usual, I like to read them. Hit the bell for notifications. Hit the like button. Subscribe, and remember, I live my life free of compromise. Do you?